So you've heard me mention the Nephilim before. However, in ancient times, an ominous humanoid adversary roamed the earth alongside the Nephilim. These entities, however, surpassed the menace posed by the Nephilim, embodying an even more formidable threat, as some of their names will clue you in on. In several biblical passages, the Raphaim are mentioned. These references are primarily found in the Old Testament or Hebrew Bible, depending on which faith you're part of. They suggest the creation of these entities, much like the Nephilim, had somehow been stopped. Thankfully. The Raphaim is what the Israelites called them. However, other people had other names for them, as we see in Scripture. Like the Anakim, they also counted as Raphaim, but the Moabites called them the Yemim. That was Deuteronomy 2:11. The word Yemim is derived from the Hebrew word for Ima, which means terror or fear. The Im is plural, like the S in English. So, Yemim would mean fears or terrors or terrorists. The word is actually still used in modern Hebrew, actually, like the word Seret Yema, which is just a horror movie. So this can teach us a lot about how the ancient Moabites saw the Raphaim. That's just one, though. The Bible shows more. Raphaim formerly lived there, but the Ammonites called them the Zamzumim. That's Deuteronomy 2:20. Zamzumim comes from the Hebrew word zimzum, which means buzz or hum, and describes the noise they produced. This strongly associates with the ancient belief in a noise of the dead, which can be found in the book of Isaiah. And when they say to you, inquire of the mediums and necromancers who chirp and mutter, should not a people inquire of God? Should they inquire of the dead on behalf of the living? It's Isaiah 8:19. The belief that the dead or spirits make buzzing sounds is rooted in various cultures and religious traditions. Across different societies, there is a historical association between supernatural entities and unexplained noises, often including buzzing, humming, or other peculiar sounds. These beliefs may be influenced by cultural interpretations of natural phenomena, experiences with the unknown, or just attempts to explain the mysterious occurrences. In some traditions, buzzing or humming sounds are thought to be manifestations of spiritual presence or activity. It could be interpreted as a way for spirits to communicate or a way to signal their presence to the living. The association of such sounds of the spiritual realm can also be found in folklore, mythology, and other religious texts. In our modern world, it is kind of believed in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way usually, but some people take it serious, that ghosts will either groan or make kind of sounds. That could be a buzzing or humming sound. This implies that the Raphaim were either resurrected or rapidly healing zombie-like beings. Their bodies either belonged to the Nephilim in the past, or they were humans, either dead or alive, overtaken by the unclean spirits of the deceased Nephilim, which are now known as demons, and this is a early case of demonic possession. However, the Raphaim are people, not a single person, meaning this is entire nations we're talking about here. I'll show you how these entities had not been isolated to one area or fluke occurrence, but spread across the land. Now keep in mind these entities existed before and after the flood, and the pre-flood world was likely one unbroken continent. So this could have covered the entire world easily on all continents. Where there is a lot of ground to cover, let's look to India, Northern Europe, and other wide stretches of the world. But we're going to start with Israel. So in ancient Hebrew, It is a renowned biblical tale in the book of Samuel, where an epic clash between King David, or David, and Goliath unfolds. Goliath is a colossal figure from the Philistine army, think modern-day Palestine. The challenges to the Israelites that he sent was to send forth a champion for single combat. This would be one person who would basically represent the entire army in one-on-one combat to decide the outcome of a war. It's actually a pretty cool idea, really. It's a lot less loss of life. However, losing this war would be, you'd be taken over, plundered, slavery, all that. So armed with a sling and a stone, David triumphs over the formidable Goliath, a victory often cited as a symbol of courage, faith, and unexpected success of the underdog. Although I would actually argue that he had been training for this his entire life. As a shepherd, he would have been fighting off very large animals that would want to eat his sheep. So he's probably fought off like wolves and bears or whatever. So he's experienced in fighting off things bigger than him. So this encounter with Goliath, reminiscent of the ancient Nephilim or Raphaim, invokes echoes of supernatural prowess. The significance of beheading Goliath carries parallels with mythical tales from other parts of the world, such as the Greek Medusa, where severing her head held symbolic power. Drawing a modern comparison, Goliath's death being ensured through decapitation echoes the strategy seen in zombie movies, where shooting them in the head is a means of overcoming a seemingly invincible foe. It wouldn't matter how many bullets you put through their body, but once you put one through their head, they're good. So those who otherwise could take on entire armies. The portrayal of this adds a layer of unworldly challenge to Goliath's character, emphasizing an extraordinary nature of David's triumph. Okay, so let's go as far south, pretty much as far south as we can go on that continent. In Hindu mythology, there are stories of spirits or entities which may interact with the deceased. While the idea of possession is more commonly associated with spirits influencing the living than taking control of corpses, it is not unknown. For example, the pretas, which are considered hungry or deprived spirits, much like the demonic Nephilim angelic components left behind, they are believed to wander in search of nourishment and may cause other disturbances. However, these spirits are not typically portrayed as taking control of corpses. The concept of the Vitala aligns more closely with the idea of reanimated corpses or spirits using dead bodies for the movement. I was actually just thinking of a movie called Plan 9 from Outer Space, where alien creatures wanted to use dead corpses as hosts. It's a terrible movie. Don't bother looking it up. It's probably one of the dumbest movies ever made. Anyway, the Vitala are described in Hindu mythology and known to possess and leave dead bodies at will. They could jump from one to the next anytime they wanted, which caused complications in exorcising them because they could just jump to another body and not hear the exorcism. In comparison to Western vampires, which is also drawn due to the association of their cemetery grounds as a environment, but their ability to inhabit corpses, in my opinion, fits more with zombies and the Raphaim. See, let's just say zombies were real for a minute. Is it really the person coming back to life, or could it be some other spiritual entity taking control of the body? In any zombie literature that you've ever read, do the zombies have the memory and personality of the deceased person? No, they don't. This would indicate that something else is controlling them. Something else has been channeled into them. Now, one notable example of a Vitala is found in a collection of folk tales known as the Vitella Panshavim Shatai, or the Bayatel Pashate. This is a set of stories within the Kata Sarat Sagara, or the Ocean of Streams of Story, a medieval Indian work compiled by Somadeva. In these tales, King Vikramaditya is tasked with capturing a Vitala and bringing it to a sage. In the story, this king captures a Vitala hanging from a tree in a graveyard. The Vitala narrates a tale. However, at the end of each story, the Vitala poses a riddle to the king. If the king speaks at all during the narration, the Vitala returns to its tree. This sounds insane, but consider how in actual demonic exorcisms, demons will attempt to distract or talk to the exorcist or other believers with random comments and sayings that throws them off and can derail the exorcism. That sounds like what is going on here. Now, in Norse mythology, the Draugr, this is a perfect analog to both zombies and Raphaim. This is an undead entity of immense power and unspeakable malevolence that shares parallels with demons and spirits of the Nephilim and their intense animosity toward the living. However, it actually adds more detail than any of these ancient documents. And Norse mythology is not as old as people think it is. Christianity actually predates the Norse religion. So according to Norse legends, the hatred of humans stems from their envy of the passion and joy that eludes their cold, lifeless hearts. In a relentless pursuit to inflict suffering and dread upon the living, the Draugr engage in malevolent actions, echoing the profound sense of bitterness that they feel toward their own fate. And they project that anger and hatred and bitterness toward humans who are living. These myths paint a vivid picture of the Draugr's dark and vengeful nature, further enriching the intricate tapestry of Norse mythology, and adding to our extrapolated knowledge of the spiritual side and psychology of the now dead Nephilim, and may show a more recent account of Raphaim existing on Earth, much like a zombie plague. Certain Draugr possessed extraordinary abilities, including the gift of foresight, supernatural knowledge, encompassing magic spells, and the capacity to shapeshift. I don't know if you've ever encountered someone who was truly possessed, but there are physical manifestations which could be seen as a very low level of shape-shifting. Changes in the structure of the face, the teeth, changes in the eyes. This is shape-shifting. It's not usually called that, but it is. So in ancient tales, parallels can be drawn with beings like the Seraphim, who were known for their shape-shifting prowess and potential shape-shifting abilities could have been passed down to the Nephilim through the lineage. These creatures often described as being impervious to conventional weapons, mirroring accounts of the Raphaim, which Goliath may have been, and also mirroring modern zombie movies, where you can keep shooting at them and they'll keep coming. However, folklore suggests that iron proved effective in severing their heads, akin to the methods employed against the Raphaim and various other monsters in other mythologies. Instances from ancient stories further illustrate the diverse and formidable traits attributed to the Draugr, enhancing their mystique in the realms of myth and legend. The Draugr, possessing formidable strength, were often depicted as generally hideous to look at, displaying a necrotic black or blue hue, and emitting a distinct reek of decay. These creatures, categorized as either death blue or corpse pale, as the ancient texts used, were known for their eerie appearance. The glamour in death was described as, and this is a direct quote from a Norse legend, he was described as black as hell and bloated to the size of a bull. Similarly, a guy named Lamefoot, I would hate to have that nickname, Lamefoot was in a dormant state and appeared uncorrupted, but had changed to become black as death, and swollen to the size of an ox, emphasizing the consistent theme of these various characteristics, with the skin darkening and bloating. This could be seen, and just be clear, talking about this is rotting. This is not talking about like race or anything like that. This is their skin is rotting. Laxdela saga recounted the discovery of the bones belonging to the deceased sorceress, describing them as blue and evil looking. This underscores the unnatural and unsettling supernatural beings. Now, just be clear, this blue hue to their skin pops up a lot in the Norse legend. There were demonic entities in the Hindu mythology who had a pale blue skin. These could be related. Now, all of these different examples point toward basically an ancient zombie apocalypse being prevented by a nation chosen by God. So when the Hebrews were told to, or the Israelites, either way, when they were told to wipe out entire cultures, what if they were just wiping out a zombie horde? That's just speculation. That's not necessarily what happened. There's other evidence in the Bible that they were just humans who, the cultures being wiped out were just humans that did not follow God. What is interesting is that this nation has once again risen from destruction and will be here until the end of time. So that's basically the ancient account of zombie activity, for lack of better words. So let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if you have anything to add, or if you just hated all of it. So that's all I've got. Thank you, and have a nice day.